Wednesdays are for people's elbows, super kicks, and springboard cutters. You know what that means. It's the Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast hosted by Michael Davis on Boom Broadcasting, and it's time to pick up that mic. WrestleMania season kicks off this weekend at the Royal Rumble event in Lucas Oil Stadium over in Indianapolis. I am excited. This is one of the most exciting times for wrestling fans because we are on the cusp of WrestleMania season. It all starts at the Royal Rumble. This has provided great memories, whether it was a man tearing his quad and John Cena and Batista having to restart the final two of the Royal Rumble, or it was Edge's unexpected return 5 years ago that was a little glimmer of hope after the unfortunate timely passing of Kobe Bryant. I mean, there are moments after moments after moment that have happened at the Royal Rumble, and I am so excited that we are finally here for this weekend. Now, you're going to be seeing some predictions from your wrestling guys on Boom Broadcasting. Shawn Lucas, host of Wrestling of Destiny, is going to be doing a phenomenal live stream Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. If that changes, we'll let you know. But he is hosting not only myself from the Drop the Mic Wrestling Podcast, but Shannon _Smitty from QuickHits. And he's also hosting the guy from Mouthing Off with Mike from the Nightcap. You got Mike MOWM himself. And it's going to be a phenomenal prediction live stream Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern time. And we're going to have an absolute blast. And I'm sure I'm going to share my predictions on that stream, but I want to do a little bit different, right? Because as of right now, we have 15 confirmed names for the Royal Rumble, and I'm going to scroll those here on the bottom. And so with these 15, I'm going to be sharing the rest of the 15 that should be entered into this Royal Rumble. Now, I will go ahead and say, like, these 15 guys on the men's side, and we're just going to do the men's side because they have much more to go about. Like, the women, I can almost guarantee most of the women on Raw and on SmackDown, and we'll see some surprises like Jordynne Grace potentially, who might have signed a new multi-year deal, becoming a WWE superstar. If that is the case, congratulations, Jordynne Grace. Well deserved. That was set in motion at last year's event when she made a surprise appearance as TNA Knockouts champion. But I can go ahead and assume that most of Raw's roster and most of SmackDown's roster for the women are going to be in this Women's Royal Rumble match. But for the men, they just have more volume on the rosters. And from years where there's more NXT guys, there's more celebrities, there's more legends, there is very limited spots in this men's Royal Rumble match. And I wouldn't be surprised if one day very soon we get 40 men in the Royal Rumble and just keep the women at 30. But I digress. That's not the most important part of this episode. The most important part is filling out the rest of the 15 slots. Now, you see on the bottom scrolling the confirmed Royal Rumble entrants. We have Braun Breaker, the reigning Intercontinental Champion. He is going to wreak havoc and spear everyone. Carmelo Hayes actually attacked Cody Rhodes on Monday's Raw and declared himself for the Royal Rumble. So I'm hoping we get to see Braun and Carmelo square up a little bit back to their NXT 2.0 days. We have Chad Gable. Uh, I could totally see Chad Gable getting eliminated by a luchador. CM Punk, one of the favorites in this Royal Rumble, but I don't think CM Punk will win. You have to stay tuned for that Wrestling of Destiny live stream special tomorrow night to stay tuned for that. Drew McIntyre is one of the favorites as well. He honestly he could have been the Royal Rumble winner last year. He eventually did get his world title opportunity and succeeded at WrestleMania before CM Punk got got to his head. Damian Priest cashes in the Money in the Bank briefcase, and Drew McIntyre lasts about 5 minutes as World Heavyweight Champion. And then main event, Jey Uso yeeting all the way to the Royal Rumble. He failed just short of Gunther in his World Heavyweight Championship last week at Saturday Night's Main Event. He I wouldn't be surprised if Jey Uso is a sleeper pick, but I don't think it happens. John Cena, John Cena, with this being his last Royal Rumble, he's probably going to be in there pretty soon. I would say around the 14, 15 mark is when John Cena shows up, and he has the opportunity to lock up against some of the greats. You got LA Knight, you got Logan Paul. Logan Paul, people are worried that he'll win the Royal Rumble. He's there for a spot. Let's be honest. He's there for a spot, maybe set up a WrestleMania match between him and somebody else. You have Penta, his first ever Royal Rumble, and I'm super excited about what Penta can bring to this Royal Rumble, getting to square off against several people. I dropped an article on fansfirstsports.com of 5 potential opponents for Penta. We've already seen Chad Gable. We've already seen Dragon Lee. Ludwig Kaiser is potentially a tease right there, but another opponent I'd like to wrestle is Rey Mysterio, who is in yet another Royal Rumble. I doubt he's going to have the same success he did back in 2006, but then you start looking. I mean, I'll just go ahead and throw out Shinsuke Nakamura because let's be honest, he's not winning. As United States champion, he's not winning this Royal Rumble. But new attitude, Seth Rollins, coming in here. He's going to try to be a favorite. I wouldn't be surprised if we end up getting Seth Rollins versus Gunther at WrestleMania or another for the World Heavyweight title. I talked about that a little bit with Mouthing Off with Michael Nightcap. You have Sami Zayn, speaking of new attitudes. Who knows if Karrion Kross can get in his head? And then, of course, you have the OTC, the tribal chief, the head of the table, the one head of the table, and the one man on the cover of WWE 2K25 with his wise man, Paul Heyman, you got Roman Reigns himself. So the field is already stacked. If you look at this list and you go ahead and you're like taking out the main eventers, and there's only a handful where you're like, okay, story wise, this wouldn't make sense. But you can't tell me from this list that at least 10 to 12 of these guys could either win this year or could be favorites here in the next 2 to 3 years to win a Royal Rumble match. This is one of the most unpredictable Royal Rumbles we've had in history. Cody Rhodes was pretty obvious 2 years ago. Cody Rhodes was pretty obvious last year with, you know, the exception of people like myself wanting and hoping for The Rock to show up. But we have a stacked field, okay? Now we have to fill out the remaining 15 spots, and that's what we're going to do on the Drop the Mic Wrestling podcast today, and, I went through the numbers, and I saw that Monday Night Raw has 10 confirmed wrestlers. SmackDown has 11 confirmed wrestlers, SmackDown, excuse me, has 4. And John Cena is not affiliated with Raw or SmackDown, so when you have those, you have, 10 from Raw, you have 4 from SmackDown, and you have John Cena, that makes up your 15. And in years past, especially when the brand extension was a huge thing, they would even up the Royal Rumble, where you had 15 Raw guys, 15 SmackDown guys. Now, I know that's not always because NXT exists. Free agents, legends, debuts. We've seen AJ Styles debut at the Royal Rumble, so on and so forth. So it's not always cut and dry with Raw and Smack. For me, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you who I have filling out the remaining 15 spots, and I wanna share some from Monday Night Raw, okay? So, for Monday Night Raw, we have, filling out one of the spots is Dirty Dom. Dirty Dom had a really impressive showing this past week on Monday Night Raw when JD McDonough was wrestling injured for majority of it. Would be great to see Dirty Dom in the ring with Logan Paul, see how much heat that garners, but Dirty Dom, especially the work he's done, especially with the heat he's drawn over the last year, he deserves to be in this Royal Rumble match. Another one who's drawn a lot of heat here is Ludwig Kaiser. Ludwig Kaiser, he has Gunther as his world heavyweight champion, but Ludwig is starting to set himself apart as a mid-card level talent, and I feel like the Royal Rumble gives him a great opportunity to work with some of the top names in the industry that you're seeing scrolling at the bottom of the screen right now, and one of these guys who are new to the heat, but not new to the Royal Rumble is Kofi Kingston. I feel like Kofi Kingston, it's almost it's almost inevitable. He gets a Royal Rumble spot. He does one weird spot. Now this will be interesting because I could totally see a scenario where Kofi is left out of the Royal Rumble match, and 1, because if he does a spot, fans might actually cheer him, and if not, then he can go to Monday Night Raw and say, "Hey, I'm a Royal Rumble legend. How many great moments, great memories, great highlights I've provided, and yet I was left off the 30-man Royal Rumble match." I could totally see that going either way, but I will put Kofi here in the Royal Rumble, and that leaves me I've got one more spot for Monday Night Raw because I got Sheamus, who fell short against Braun Breaker last week at Saturday night's main event. He could be looking for a world heavyweight title match. They could tease something with Gunther, but I still see Sheamus as a veteran getting another Royal Rumble appearance, much like a Rey Mysterio would, and Sheamus, though he falls short in this Royal Rumble, likely goes after that Intercontinental title and tries, tries so hard to get the one championship that's eluded him. And so I've got my Raw competitors right here, and you see that number 10 plus 4 equals 14 Monday Night Raw competitors. Now from the SmackDown Blue Brand, we only have 4 announced names. So I'm looking at SmackDown, I'm starting to realize, okay, you have some big names who haven't been officially added to this list, which I'm sure they'll be added on Friday's SmackDown or even the kickoff show before we actually get to Saturday's Royal Rumble event in Indianapolis. And there's some big names, but there's also some names in the mid-card that they really need to establish this weekend in order to carry a 3-hour SmackDown programming throughout the WrestleMania season, and I got one who may scratch heads. I got Andrade. Andrade returned to WWE last year and competed in the Royal Rumble for the first time since his departure, several years back. I got Andrade coming into this Royal Rumble, and I feel like Andrade loses, and then there's a reason why. Zelina Vega, the newest addition to the SmackDown roster, offers her services again to Andrade, but I have Andrade, and I also have somebody who likely won't win, but you have Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman can come in, wreak havoc, and then you can get somebody else over by eliminating Braun Strowman. You can't probably get the gang elimination, but you can have a guy like Jacob Fatu eliminate him, who I'm also adding to this list. I got Jacob Fatu coming in with Braun Strowman, potentially eliminating Braun Strowman. You could also see a guy like Braun Breaker eliminate Braun Strowman, but I could see Jacob Fatu and Braun Strowman continuing what they started at Saturday night's main event last week and getting an elimination there. So if I have Jacob Fatu, I probably need Tama Tonga. Tama Tonga, one of the New Japan legends. I could see him being totally left out as well, but I wanna go ahead and see Tama Tonga, Jacob Fatu work their bloodline magic and potentially help somebody else who's been off the programming since the Monday Night Raw Netflix debut, Solo Sikoa. Guys, we already have Roman Reigns on the Royal Rumble roster. We get Jacob Fatu in, we get Tama Tonga in, we need to get Solo Sikoa in to spark something. I don't know where or how you go about this. Solo Sikoa needs to be in this Royal Rumble after a very strong and very underrated 2024 calendar year. He needs something to help jumpstart him, and the Royal Rumble match might be a great place where he rekindles something Roman Reigns, or he goes after somebody new. So give me Jacob Fatu, Silico, and Tama Tonga from the bloodline, and somebody who's not in the bloodline anymore, but is on the cover of the bloodline edition of WWE 2K25 that was, announced and released this past week. You have Jimmy Uso. It makes all the sense in the world. If you have all the bloodline guys in, you wouldn't leave out Big Jim, Jimmy Uso. Jimmy's twin brother Jay is on the Raw side of the Royal Rumble, and we could see some more tag team abilities and opportunities come up for Jimmy and Jay. Potentially, they could reunite. I could totally see that if Jey Uso isn't getting this man that push. He keeps falling short in all these world title opportunities. If I'm not mistaken, he's like 0-7 now when it comes to losing to Roman Reigns, losing to Gunther, losing to Seth Rollins, so on and so forth. I mean, I feel like Jey Uso and Jimmy could reunite a year after their brotherly love feud at WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia. I could see a scenario where Jey and Jimmy do some tag team antics, especially against Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, and Solo Sikoa, because even if you don't rekindle that feud long term, you can still revisit it in matches like the Royal Rumble. And a couple names that, likely won't win, but I'd love to see them get showcased is Santos Escobar, the guy from Legado del Fantasma. I need more from Santos. You look at the SmackDown roster, and you're like, "Okay, you have this one, you have that one," but if you're going to 3 hours, you need to showcase some talent like Santos Escobar more. I wanna go ahead and call him the modern day Cesaro. Santos Escobar would do such a great job representing the WWE globally. He speaks fluent Spanish, he speaks fluent English, he carries himself very well and very proper. He can go in the ring. If you do not believe me, go find his stuff. Go find his stuff from Lucha Underground. You will be amazed at what this guy can do in the ring. I feel like Santos Escobar, if he enters at number 3 or 4, he could be a guy who could last until 19 or 20 and show that he can hang with everybody. And there's a guy who's in the tag team scene and, hasn't had his breakthrough moment. And we're getting close to the end of our, 30 entrants, but how about bringing in Montez Ford? You need to have Montez Ford in this Royal Rumble, but more importantly, you do not need to have Angelo Dawkins in this Royal Rumble. I do not need the Uso reunion with the Street Profits. I need to see if Montez Ford can hold his own as his own guy against some of WWE's most elite talent. That's what I need. Montez Ford has all the charisma in the world. Everybody's tied him in the last 5 years as somebody who can break out, be the quote unquote Shawn Michaels to Angelo Janae. Now we're seeing that Angelo Dawkins could hold his own as well, but Montez has that it factor. It just oozes from him every time he's in the ring. The Street Profits honestly have hit a lull. Like they've become a little stale, especially with the Bobby Lashley fiasco and whatever happened there. Montez Ford needs to be in this Royal Rumble, and he needs to have a long period of time like Santos Escobar I just mentioned, here in the match around the 3 through 6 mark and then staying into the early 20s and show that he can go, because he would be a great candidate in a mid-card range on Friday Night SmackDown or even switch to Monday Night Raw to where he can compete for either the Intercontinental. Now, another guy who's probably in the same boat as Sheamus and is just getting another Royal Rumble is The Miz. He actually holds the reign or the record for the longest active Royal Rumble consecutive streak in terms of how many appearances he's made. To keep the streak alive, he's active on the roster. You gotta give it to The Miz. And then I only have one more spot, guys. I only have one more spot. I just listed off, you know, 4 for Monday Night Raw, which brought that total to 14. You have John Cena, which is a 15. And then you have, 10 from Friday Night SmackDown, and now you're at the 29 mark, and you look and you're like, "We could do a Pat McAfee spot because it is in Indianapolis where he played football." You could do an NXT spot. You think of a Trick Williams. Could have him do something with Carmelo Hayes. You could have an Ethan Page who is just minutes away from a call up. You could do a legend. Bring in a legend. You could bring in Kane. Give him a couple eliminations and keep him, up on top of that list. You could go with a free agent if you have your eye on it. I don't know when Aleister Black's contract ends with AEW, but that could be an option, so on and so forth. You could go several different ways, but my guy has not been named yet. He's not been listed. He, as a matter of fact, got hurt by Kevin Owens and hasn't been seen since. Give me Orton. Randy Orton. I need Randy Orton to return to the Royal Rumble. Now, I'm not entirely convinced on who I want to win the Royal Rumble. I'm gonna, make a solid answer tomorrow on the Wrestling of Destiny live podcast on Boom Broadcasting Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern, hosted by Shawn Lucas, our guy, along with Shannon Smith and now the Alpha Mike. We'll all be there, and it'll be a nice fatal four-way when it comes to Royal Rumble predictions, which is why I'm not doing Royal Rumble predictions on this Drop the Mic podcast. You guys don't need to hear me say this twice. Slash, I'm a little undecided. I have one of those favorites is Randy Orton. Randy Orton would make all the sense in the world. I know a lot of people want John Cena. I know a lot of people want this person, that person, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Jey Uso, so on and so. But Randy Orton makes a lot of sense in this spot because Kevin Owens did take him out. Cody wasn't there to save Randy Orton in that moment. CM Punk makes a promo this past week where, as WWE champion, he lost all his friends. And Cody, he only has one more friend. It's Randy Orton, who is no stranger to turning his back on his allies with a simple RKO. Randy Orton can be a babyface, man, oh, he can be a heel. And if he is the jealous teacher turning on his student that's exceeded him right now, I mean, you saw it previewed. Cody's not chasing CM Punk, CM Punk's chasing Cody. Now, you have a Viper, you have the Apex Predator chasing the WWE Championship. He doesn't care who it's on. It's on Cody, so be it, right? So, Randy, we've already seen him versus Cody, but we could see Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. So, for the sake of keeping that scenario alive, Randy Orton needs to be in this match. And that's my 30. You notice there's no NXT guys, there's no legends, there's no big surprise, right? There's no The Rock. WWE is in a spot now where you don't need that. As much as I, as a fan and petition for the Royal Rumble to have surprises, they don't need that. This roster is so stacked. This is the most stacked roster in WWE history. Even go back to the Attitude Era. This roster is so talented, and there's about to be more guys. Penta just came. Logan Paul is in the mix. John Cena is in his final year. You got Ray Phoenix coming. You got Aleister Black coming. You got potentially Rusev coming. You have the greatest roster assembled in WWE history. You don't need to follow up whoever. and take a spot out of a 30-man Royal Rumble. When we complain about people on Raw not being featured on Raw, we complain about SmackDown people not being featured on SmackDown, men or women, we're not going to be privy to the NXT surprises that can be called up Monday after WrestleMania. You're not gonna be privy to these free agents who can show up whenever and still make the same impact when they would just lose the Royal Rumble anyways. This is a privilege that we can look at a 30-man Royal Rumble and say, maybe there's 5 to 6 guys who are your favorites, and maybe there's another 6 to 8 that could win it here in the next 3 to 4 years, or it could be a main part on the WrestleMania card. We are so blessed. We are so fortunate for that. I told you we're going to do live predictions tomorrow, Wrestling Destiny, live Thursday at 9 PM. If that changes, we'll update you on social media channels because it is a live stream. It is a special live stream with the wrestling podcast host. So if somebody's schedule changes, we'll let you know. Super excited for Shawn putting that together. I'm not going to give you my prediction, but I am going to tell you as a sneak peek who it's not going to be. I told you we had 15 from SmackDown. We had 14 from Raw. The only person who's not affiliated, which I call my 30th man, is John Cena. He might enter midway, but, in terms of Raw and SmackDown affiliation, John Cena is technically the 30th guy, but he will not be your winner. John Cena is not winning the Royal Rumble, and I am tired of people thinking this is a reality. When you have the Elimination Chamber, all the commercials, all the advertisements is geared towards John Cena in the Elimination Chamber. What's the point? Why would John Cena win the Royal Rumble when you could easily have John Cena in the Elimination Chamber and just let him have this one more chance at potentially main event WrestleMania? And boom, there's your story going into the Elimination Chamber. That is going to sell the place out. John Cena's final time in Toronto. John Cena's last chance at getting a world title opportunity at WrestleMania, it writes itself. You don't need to waste a Royal Rumble victory on John Cena, who's already won this. You just don't. I'm sorry. Hate to break it to you. Hate to hurt your feelings, but you will not see a John Cena Royal Rumble victory this weekend. But stay tuned for Wrestling of Destiny live Thursday, 9 PM time. Shawn Lucas hosting myself, MOWM with Mike, and podcast_Smitty as we do our Royal Rumble predictions and you get the official. But now you know the pool of 30 that is going to be in this Royal Rumble. Guys, I appreciate you all so much. Thank you for watching Drop the Mic. Hope you guys tune in tomorrow, Thursday, 9 PM Eastern Time, live for Wrestling of Destiny's live stream special for Royal Rumble predictions. And I hope you guys enjoy Royal Rumble this week.